Hi, my name is Wayne, and this is Type Tested. I've been working on this Royal KMM for a while. This is actually a pretty nice typewriter, but this one has some vexing problems that I've been trying to work through. Now, after cleaning it, and believe me, this really needed it, I've been slowly putting this back together. Now, normally I would go in a layer. I put all the intermediate links on first, then I'd put the type bar levers and type bar links on. In this particular case, that's just not going to work. So I've instead been doing the whole thing one at a time. That is because I'm running into a problem which I need to address. So if you look here, zoom in a bit. So I'm going to lift one of the keys that I've already put in that's working properly. And you can see that the trip is just as it's entering the blades of the type guide. Now, most people would rather have a trip up about here. I prefer to have it a little bit further out, but that's not what I'm working on right now. That is the trip adjustment, which is also a bit of a pain on this particular typewriter. Let me show you the last key that I installed. Now this, you can see it's tripping all the way back out here, and that is in no way acceptable. Now, thing about this, the way this typewriter works is you have these hooks down here, and they are connected to this bar, and when you press a key, they lift that hook. You can see it's this one right here that I'm pressing, and they will push this plate up against the trip itself. And this is your trip adjustment point. Now, as you can imagine, when this is completely covered by springs, accessing that is almost impossible. So it really is a royal pain to make that adjustment. I'm not a fan of this design, but it does the job. Now, for the purposes of explanation, I want to point out that I had originally attempted to install all the sublevers and was starting on the type bars when I found some pretty significant issues that I needed to deal with. So for my perspective, I already know that there are a number of type bars that are tripping about where they're supposed to. So what I did is I picked some of them, and then I set my trip adjustment based on those type bars. So don't think that the one I chose as my master was simply a random selection. It was pretty well the median of everything else that I had. So I was able to set the overall trip point based on that. And now I'm going through and adjusting the individual trip points on the various type bars to make sure that they match pretty closely what I have on that one. So just wanted to make sure that that was clear. Anyway, so what I need to do is I need to take the last link I put on out in order to make the adjustment. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take this type bar out. Oh, a little too far. There we go. So I've got that out. Now I'm going to unhook it from its link. And to get this out, I'm going to raise these other type bars so I can get over here. So here's your type bar link. Notice that it's straight on both sides, but you have one side that is a little more filed off than the other, usually. This end will tend to go up here because you need a little bit more clearance between the two so they don't get caught. You'll also note that these links, that these hooks are at an angle from each other. Now, keeping that up, I need to get the key lever link off. So ignore the flashing, that's from my headlamp. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull this bar over here, just enough to lift the intermediate link out. And then I'm going to pivot it to one side so I can get the key lever link out. Now the key lever, note this kind of crook end and where the other end is straight. The curved end always goes toward the key itself. So here's the intermediate lever link, or intermediate lever, and you'll notice it's got 4 holes in it. This one for the pivot, this bit out here points in the back, and this for the trip lever, which I will then remove, and the top hole is for the type bar link. So now, take this out here, and I've already removed the spring connection. You can see it down here, if I zoom it a bit. So each of these has a spring that's connected down here. Now, on this, so you have a hook here that goes into the intermediate lever link. So that goes right here from one side to the other, depending on where you are in the typewriter. You have a little bend here which connects the top of the return spring. And then you have a little hook on the spring itself. And you have a little hook on the type bar, or you have a hook on this end of the trip lever. Now, this distance here is what determines where the trip point occurs. So this one is tripping too soon. So that means that the hook here is too short. I need to lengthen it. Now I can do that by putting a pair of pliers on here and bending the hook out so that this end here comes out just a little bit further. So we've got a kind of a rounded section here and a flat section here and another flat section here. So I'm going to take a pair of pliers, and you can kind of use this angle here as a gauge to see what you're doing. So I'm going to take a pair of pliers, and I am going to bend that back. So I've gone quite a bit. And this one I think I may need to go a little bit more. And now I'm going to straighten this out by trying to bend this angle right here. So that it looks more like it's supposed to, and it won't stick out so far as to interfere with things. Now I know I'm kind of marring the link here. I don't necessarily care about this at this particular point. This is really just a steel copper plate. It will be fine. So now I've got to put it back in. And this is why you only do this when you're doing a full tune-up of the typewriter, because it is almost impossible to do this one at a time when things are in place. Okay, now you get the intermediate lever back in, get the key lever, or the key link, put it back in the correct direction. Change hands here. Come on, grab and stay there. There we go. Put this back here. And these can be a little tricky to work with because if they're not right in the end in that angle on the hook, they like to bind. Put it back in the pivot. Put the pivot wire through it. Pivot rod in this case. There we go. Now we've got to put the type bar link on. It has to point in this direction. Sometimes it's helpful to pull it out front. Don't do that. There we go. I need to put that back on. Put that back in here. Work the wire through it. Okay. And now, let's test again. So you remember it was back about here before. Now if I raise this, it could actually stand to go a little bit further in. I don't want to necessarily get these perfect, but I want to get them pretty close. And if anything, tripping a slight amount early is better than tripping late, because if somebody wants, because of where I'm setting this, being out here, so if somebody wants to adjust it so it trips further in, if I have one that's tripping a little late, then it's going to cause a problem after that adjustment. So if I'm off, I would rather be off in the early direction than late. So let me go ahead and do this real quick. I'm not going to move the camera around. I'm just going to do the job. It's a lot easier when you're not explaining things and you don't have a camera in front of you. And actually, I should have put that spring on before I did that, but that's okay. That just affects how the key feels, really. So let me get that out. Bring this out here. Straighten it out just a little bit more. That ought to do. Don't get tangled up. Why in the world does everything in life have to be a fishhook? Get a good grip on it. Back here. And holding these type bars up can make it easier to put the intermediate lever back in place. Come on. Fine, I'll do this way. Because it's tall enough that the type bars will get in the way when you're trying to put it down. That, pull it forward. That link on it. Put that in place. Put the carriage back a bit. And now let's see what we end up with. Darn near perfect. That's what I wanted. Okay, so now I've got to go through and do that on the rest of these links to try to get them to all trip in roughly the same spot so the typewriter behaves consistently. And this, like I said, this is something I don't like doing on the Royal because it's such a pain in the butt. Other typewriters have different mechanisms for doing that. Some typewriters, it doesn't appear that you can actually do this at all. And, well, there you just have to accept the factory set, or you have to file on the individual type bars or things of that nature, or what you might be able to do is bend a link a little bit to shorten it, but you won't be able to lengthen it. So anyway, so there you have it, adjusting the trip point on the type bar of a Royal standard manual typewriter. Now this applies with some variation from the number 1 all the way up through the 440, which was the last Royal standard design. They all use the same sort of mechanism. Number 1s, numbers 5s look a little bit different, but the same general principle applies. From the Royal 10 onward, they use this type of system with the kind of T-form intermediate lever system. So anyway, there you have it. Once again, my name is Wayne, and this is Type Tested.